Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Locked In. As always, we appreciate you checking out our videos. We appreciate your comments, and getting to talk ball with you a little bit. And, we want to say we're in the push to try to get to 500 subscribers. If you will, help us out, click the subscribe button. I know a lot of people, we have a lot of returning viewers. Every day we have quite a few. So some of y'all help us out here, help us get to that 500 mark, as we push toward 1,000. And we greatly appreciate it. And today we want to go back to another one of our, frequent spots. We're going to turn back to Alabama. We're going to, I guess, for better or for worse, we're going to turn back to this quarterback conversation that everybody seems to have a pretty hot opinion about. And, and when we do too, and as we've said, even though we allegedly desperately hate Jalen Milroe, and I do have a PhD. I like Milroe, and I hope the dude starts, and I hope that I hope he just tears the whole thing up. I said that before. If you got to the end of the video, you heard me said that 3 times. But it's kind of a funny thing because this is just it's a touchy subject, and I get it, and I understand why it's touchy. And so tonight we're gonna touch a new part of it. Several people have mentioned Ty Simpson, that he's a guy that we ought to be looking at. And and when we have looked at Ty Simpson, and we hadn't really intended to say much about Ty Simpson, but tonight we are going to look at him, and we're going to give him his due, and we're going to watch him here against the South Florida Bulls. And they're not any good. That's just the thing. South Florida's got a terrible pass defense. If you don't like me saying that, go look at the numbers. 131st out of 132 teams, I think. Is that right? In the country, they're pretty bad. They also are not very good, at sacking the quarterback, but they sacked the tar out of Ty Simpson. They didn't sack Buckner, though. And Buckner was bad. There ain't nobody going to say Buckner was good, because it was bad. So they punished Milroe by benching him against South Florida. And I understand that if you're going to do that and you think you need a man's head, to get back in the game, South Florida's probably a good team to bench him against. And so they put Buckner out there, and they ended up benching Buckner, before halftime. Simpson comes into the game. One of the most, I guess, interesting facts about this game, though, is that Buckner, facing the same defense, was not sacked. He didn't do much. He had a pretty pitiful, I think he had like a QBR of 10. Is that right? And he had, he might have been about maybe, what was his numbers? About 5 out of 14 or so?
5 for 14.
5 for 14. He didn't do much. How many yards did he have? About maybe 10 or so?
About it. So he had 34 yards.
34. It's, not terrible, but, I guess he's getting up to 7 per play, but he just wasn't much. But the one thing that he didn't do is he didn't get sacked. And Ty Simpson got sacked 5 times against this or by this defense. And what caused that? If we want to just jump, just briefly into from watching this film, what do y'all think? What was Simpson's problem that caused him to be sacked 5 times? Now, I know what the obvious answer that, a lot of people are going to throw out is going to be, well, Alabama's offensive line was terrible. There's no day when Alabama's offensive line is so bad that they ought to give up 5 sacks to a team that doesn't really sack that many times. They got more than 20% of their sacks this season. The South Florida Bulls did against Alabama. 5 of them came against one quarterback. 0 of them came against the other, and they almost played the same amount of time. So that suggests that there was something that happened when Ty Simpson was behind the center. So what do y'all think? What caused that?
So the reason that they both attempted 14, or at least went back to attempt 14 passes, and Ty Simpson only attempted 9 because he got sacked, is because he can't really process. He's very slow, and you're expected as a lineman. You always hear it. Give them 3 seconds. Say, well, here's the thing. 3 seconds is great. If you can get 3 seconds every play, that's superb offensive line play. So here's my thing. USF knows hey, this is a new guy. He's very raw. So let's blitz him because that's what you do against the new quarterback every time. Let's send 6 and see how it messes with their head. Well, you know what? It really messed with Ty Simpson's head because you can't sit here and tell me that if he's so good and he's playing at Alabama, then he can't pre-snap read a blitz. Or, even if he doesn't read it pre-snap and they disguise it, you're telling me that he can't see that coming after he snaps the ball? So you'd be lying. So my thing is, he can't really process, he can't really read, and then he panics. And he either runs like he did 9 times, or he just makes a terrible throw. And I think that's what you'll see a lot.
I want to go on record for all the people that think that I hate Alabama. I do not hate Alabama. I actually like Alabama and have been somewhat of a fan, I would say, considering my family history that I've talked about before in another Alabama video that I said at the end of the video. But regardless of me being a fan or not, I watch tape, I watch players, I see how they perform, I see how teams perform, and we're just gonna we'll go ahead and get this rolling in this film. And to start, his first possession where Ty Simpson comes in, South Florida just fumbled the ball and they're on their own end. Alabama's got the ball on the 8-yard line. They struggled to gain yardage or to get points in this game. Obviously, the score is 0-3 with only almost just under 4 minutes in the first half. So they're struggling to score points. South Florida gives them a golden opportunity to finally get into the end zone. And Ty Simpson is now at the helm because Buckner has not done very well at all to move the ball. So let's give the other guy a shot. And let's go ahead and watch his first possession as the quarterback for the Crimson Tide.
So you can see that blitz, that linebacker creeping down. Ty Simpson obviously does not see that and drops and just throws the ball away. So that was very obvious with that linebacker creeping up on the middle. So you'd have to be blind not to see it as a quarterback or just too nervous, whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, how do you not see that? Like, at least 6 is coming. So I mean, I don't know how you defend that. So I mean, I guess just first play jitters. I don't know. So I guess you could blame blocking, but not really. I mean, everybody's pretty much got a man on them. So I mean, how are you going to blame blocking with that? So your best bet is going to say, hey, I know my running back is blocking, and you can't really throw that, especially looking left. So with him being a righty, his first throw will be right across the middle where them linebackers were. And that'll be right here. And he's wide open. Why? Because the blitz. And if he saw that, as soon as he would have snapped the ball and he saw that blitz coming, all he had to do was just throw it right across the middle. And number 45 takes that right in for a touchdown.
This is not a foreign concept.
Roll it back to the beginning.
Sure. Yep.
Because I want to see, like, yeah. So I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, you've already got that linebacker up there.
Yeah, I mean, at least 6 is
the
coming.
other one's coming.
Yeah. 7 comes, but at least 6.
And you also, and you should know. I mean, that's just, like I say, because if you've called any plays, it's tough whenever you put the quarterback in there that you're not anticipating playing. Now, I would say in this game, and I don't know how they did it, but I would say, given that that Jalen Milroe is not going to start this game, is probably not going to play in this game because you're wanting to, I guess prove a point or get his mind right, how you want to look at that. You would probably split first team reps with the 2 backups going into this scenario. Because one of the facts about backups is that they are backups for a reason, that they're not as good as the starter. And so you're taking a risk right here with them, and you want to give them their chance, see what they got. But yeah, it's going to be dicey. So my thought would be, when they run this play, like what Reg said, whenever they get down there, they get that fumble, they got their opportunity here to do something. This is going to be a play that Ty Simpson has ran a lot. You're not going to put him out there and ask him to run something that he has no idea about or something that he's going to be foggy about. And one of the beauties of this is that you've got, this tight end coming right across the middle. If they blitz, like Chance says, you've already got, your ready-made hot is in there. And so what he does is instead of making a full drop, whenever the back foot hits, go ahead, make that throw, because you can see, one linebacker's coming. So go ahead and watch that other one. And whenever he commits, like right there, back foot needs to stick, ball needs to be in the air.
But and you know what's even worse?
I'll give it.
So what's worse is they called it as a man beater. So you got crossers over the middle. It's like that's an obvious man beater play, and they called it knowing that, hey, it's going to be man coverage, meaning a cover zero, some sort of man. So I mean, they know at least some sort of pressure's coming here. So I mean, they call it.
Yeah, you have to.
And I mean, they call it perfectly because, as he gets out, said this guy right here is coming right over to, give a little rub. So 45 will be wide open. This guy, your safety corner, whatever he is, he will still not have enough time to come down on 45. So 45 is your guy. So I
will, on his behalf, that linebacker did get through there quick. They could have helped him out a lot more with that than what they did. But, obviously the idea of a blitz like this is that you want to send obviously more than they can handle. And that one guy is going to come free. So, there's ways of looking at it. There's ways of griping about it. But at the end of the day, Tommy Rees had the right call right here for the situation, for the quarterback you got in. You could not have called something better, honestly.
Well, you know what?
And, you got to know that.
I'd also say at the same time, as a quarterback, you see that blitz coming. So it's pretty obvious.
You got to shorten your drop.
Call out to your lineman, hey, blitz right there, pick it up. I can see it. Or at least tell your running back, hey, go block a gap right there. There's a linebacker creeping in. It's like he should. I know he's not a veteran, but you got to be able to see that and make a call or at least make a call out. So I mean, at the same time, as much as we want to say, hey, they let him run free, he definitely could have affected it. I mean, perfect play call though. Looks really good. Just doesn't have the time to get it out. And still on the goal line here. It's 3rd and goal now. You see that creeping linebacker again. They get the blitz picked up this time. They're still in man coverage. He just doesn't really take his shot here. Nobody's really open, but I mean, you see linebackers creeping down. They know, hey, blitz identifier. I mean, man, you watch this guy pre-snap read. You see him directing his body angle out. Hey, he's man. So I mean, obviously, your pre-snap read is going to say, hey, one of these two guys is probably going to be the right call here. And I'd say it's probably that slant over the middle. But
yeah, I would agree.
But
and it's like you say. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I understand. I mean, that left tackle, that's garbage. I mean, that is pure garbage. But throw that ball.
Yep.
Throw that ball. I mean, that guy's open.
So both of them are really open. So I know you want to give it a few more seconds to cross, but it's like
you do. Yeah.
But it's like you got to throw it. It's an elite court. There's a difference between good and great and elite. This guy I know he's young. It's like, but if you want to say, hey, this guy is going to start next year, what makes you say that?
Yeah.
It's like,
I agree with that. I mean, that would be my argument is, I mean, I think, I understand, but like what you said, you have to also understand that the deck is stacked. Because I mean, this is South Florida. I mean, this is blood in the water. I guarantee you, on their sideline, whenever they've swapped from Buckner to Simpson, they had their blitzes dialed up all week, and and you had to know going into that game. I mean, the offensive line, it is shaky, but you have to play in light of that. I mean, you really do. I mean, Alabama, they came one snap of being in a national championship with as bad an offensive line as you could hope to have, people who look like they haven't been coached. But it's one of those things that, I mean, I think that you have to affect the game right here. And if you want to say this is the one, this is a play I think he has to make. And I mean, one of the things that gets me with this one is as he drops, like his feet, they look supremely nervous. Like if we roll that, just take it to the beginning of that one right there, just this most recent play, and watch what his feet like. I mean, it looks like that they really get out of control.
Yeah,
Like he's
shuffling.
jittery.
That's what I call
Yeah,
happy feet.
Yeah, he shuffled back a little more than he needed to, and you got to stick that back foot and throw because I mean you're fixed. You're going to get hit either way, and you'd like to see him throw a touchdown right there to one of those two guys, or at least make it close. Yeah, I mean tough play,
or at least
I mean,
get the ball
I
out of his
understand.
hands so it's not a sack.
Yeah, and I understand where he's at. I mean, I'm not one. It's not in my nature to be to be mean about it, but it is what it is, and there's a reason that Milroe was back the next week. I mean, this couldn't go on.
So they settle for a field goal there. He throws it away and just in time to not get sacked on that first play watch. Then he does get sacked. Yes, I know there was a blitz, 7-man on the first and a 6-man on the second one. But as we've said, he still could have done more to affect the play. And you can look at it and say, well, what could he have done? Well, there's plenty of things he could have done. And especially on that second play, that ball should have been out the moment his back foot hit on his drop and he fires it into that spot. And a good quarterback, and again, this is kind of why we're talking about this. If we are proposing him as Alabama's next one, then he has to be a good quarterback. And good quarterbacks make those throws, and he did not. So that's why we're bringing that up. So now, new possession for Alabama. They get the ball back right before halftime.
Yeah, and just looking pre-snap, you see at least one coming off the edge. You see another walking down. You have trips on this right side of the field. Where's that ball going? It's automatically going somewhere over here with these three players that are covered by two that are 10 yards off on 2nd and 1.
Yeah.
That is your smart play. So let's see what he does here. So, I sense pressure. Let's run out of here. Not step up in the pocket. Throw it across the middle of the field with a very dangerous ball. Said when you have someone right here wide open. Said, but why would you ever just step up and throw that ball? Well, it's because he's young and he senses that pressure and he wants to run. Said you see it all the time, especially with high school quarterbacks. I know I saw it for years. You get any sign of just pressure and it's automatically take off. And that's why he had 9 rushes in this game.
And it's just, he looks uncomfortable in the pocket. Well, you say, well, he's new. He's going to look uncomfortable in the pocket. Fine. But if you are going to be playing quarterback for Alabama, you're going to be in the situation. You've taken first team reps. You are deemed as one of the top 3 on this roster. You should be able to take a 3-step drop and make a throw. And I think that's the problem that we see here is that this is a super basic concept. It's one that you hear on TV all the time from announcers. And I know I heard it in the Super Bowl just the other night talking about you throw where the blitz came from because that means that area has been vacated. Now, good defenses are going to try and allocate other guys behind to make up for that blitz and, make up for that space, but there's still a missing space. There has to be because a guy is now rushing at you. And then as a quarterback, it's your job to read where those missing spaces are, how much space you have to make a play and make a throw. And in this one, he's got a ton of space. He's got linebackers that drift back, a safety that drifts up just a bit. And I mean, he's got an 8-yard cushion with no one around him. And he never even looks his way. And I think that's just an issue that we see with him. Yes, again, we know he's young. We know he's not the main guy. But these are throws that he should be able to make if you're going to deem him the next Alabama quarterback. Is he going to get better in the offseason and through practice? Sure he is. But you want to see him in game make some plays rather than, look timid back there, look afraid, look where he, or just not make plays and make throws that you would expect somebody of the caliber of Alabama quarterback to make. And I think that's the point that we're trying to convey here, even with just these few plays, is we just don't see what people are saying as, hey, this is the next guy.
Yeah. I mean, I know he was a 5-star out of Tennessee, coming from Martin over in Westview, played 2A football. But like my thing here is like, once you get to that point where he's down here, why not run the ball? It's like you be situationally aware. Run the ball. I mean, why make this throw? That is a hard throw to make on the run. Technically, throwing pretty much cross body, while on the run, not even settled, having your feet set to a receiver that's pretty well covered.
Oh, he's covered. One thing to notice too about, you talked about situational awareness. Pay attention to the first down markers, and what you see over there is the referee is standing straddle of the 34, the tick on the 34-yard line. That's the line of scrimmage. First down marker at 2nd and 1 is on the 35, and and as he's coming up, he is dangerously close to the line of scrimmage, or going over the line of scrimmage whenever he actually makes his throw. It seems like to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
So I think he's a little bit off.
He stayed behind it because the rule is as long as any part of the body is behind it, it counts.
Okay, so let's strike that. But here, I'll start with this then. One of the things that gets me about him trying to escape, out of the pocket right here, I understand it. It looks like it's caving in on him, but actually, I think that they do an okay job of keeping some space. You'd like to see him, like right here. Obviously, he's getting some heavy pressure from the right, but they have a good pocket formed, and there's going to be an escape route right there, in what would be, probably the B gap. As they drop back with the guard and the tackle. So if you let it play, just okay, he steps up into the pocket, slides to the right. See, he doesn't have to commit to the run right here. Honestly, he can make this throw. And I think that what you have to say is just like what that I commented on about the mesh play whenever they had the double crossers underneath on the goal line. Tommy Reese is setting him up for success, and he wants to see him hit the guy right there dragging on the 36-yard line. And if he does, you make a completion for a first down. 2, there's a really good shot that he's going to pick up a few yards after the catch, maybe even makes a few, because as we know, South Florida is not, they're by no means an elite defense. So you might make something happen if you get an athlete in space. He could get out of bounds. He could stop the clock, and you could feasibly make another throw on down to maybe even get you closer to field goal range. There are a lot of things that could have happened. But, once again, we go back to saying, this is a young guy. And when he sees it all cave in on him, he gets rushed and he panics. And so he takes off and he does what comes natural, like what Chance said. And he tries to make something happen with his feet. And then, and makes a throw to a pretty questionable spot. So, yeah, this is not what you want your guy doing. And, and the thing that I think, kind of goes without saying, but, I'm going to say it anyway. You trade South Florida for Georgia, for LSU, for some of your top competitors, it ain't gonna be pretty. That's all you can say is it ain't gonna be pretty. And once again, it's like what Rev said. We're not saying that you can't get better. We're not saying that you can't turn into to a fine quarterback. But for right now to say, this is the guy who's going to be pushing Jalen Milroe for a starting spot, it ain't happening. I'm not even going to say I don't see it. I'm just saying it ain't happening. Milroe's a far better quarterback.
I would say he was pushing them for a starting spot last year, and Saban shut that up real quick. So why start back with it?
No, you're not going to. You're really not.
So this time he has a clean pocket. So he's not really taking his drop correct, I don't think, because there's a 3-5-7 and pretty much a one-step drop or throw when you get the ball, just depending on what you're running. And you'd like to see him get an actual 3 or an actual 5 or an actual 7, not just kind of shuffle back in the pocket and not really look downfield. Because you have a guy down here just I think it's Amari Knoblack that's just got his hands up, jumping, hey, throw me the ball, and you just got him back there, tunnel vision on his 2 receivers on this side of the field. And he won't even look over to his left side of the field. So, he has all the time in the world here, and all you see is that he cannot go through his progression with time, and, he's not really reading the field right.
I think, too, you could say, and it goes back to everything. And that's like, once again, I say there's no disrespect intended, but it is what it is. It's a very, very young quarterback, very raw quarterback. And what you're seeing right now, these are not things that are going to translate into SEC games. I mean, and I think even with this off season, he needs work because, like you say, I mean, what he's doing is whenever he makes a quick drop and then he shuffles back, it's almost like he's scuttling back. You know, looks like a like almost like a little crab walk. And like you say, he is looking at that right side of the field. Now, we've said the same thing with Milroe, is that happens with him a lot, as you see that white stripe pointed one way, and he's not scanning the field. And, you know, and we understand that, you know, that Milroe likes to scramble to get the opportunity to throw the deep ball. He likes to run plays outright, just, you know, straight running plays. And he also likes one read, then run if it's not open pass plays. And so, I mean, I have to wonder if that's not kind of how that some of their stuff is designed, is they know it's, you know, it's built around him. But right here, this is, I mean, this is something that you see taught a lot in air raid high school systems, is that you throw to one side of the field. And so that seems to me like what he is dropping back with the anticipation of throwing to the right side of the field. Instead of being able to, you know, to get back there, set up, you know, and look and say, okay, none of these options are available to me. And of course, they're going to cover that side. You know, he's a right-handed quarterback, and they're not going to give him the easy throw over there. But, you know, like you said, you have to know where that, you know, that where your drop-off's at. You know, where's your hot, you know, your security blanket. And like you said, I mean, right there he is. And now, is it an ask to, you know, to get there? Yeah, it kind of is. But if you look at that right side of the field, look at how many green jerseys you see over there on that side. There's two receivers with three South Florida defenders very close to them. Then, you know, you come on over to your next man on the hash, and you've got the tight end down there in the flat, wide open. You've even got a good throw right there, you know, on that wide receiver that is above the tight end, but clearly you want to hit that tight end right there. He's going to pick you up, you know, a handful of yards, you know, get out of bounds. I mean, I know it's almost halftime, but nevertheless, you know, you would like to see him process through that and say, okay, let me get what I can get. And, you know, I think Nye Black picks up a first down right there. I mean, it may be for nothing because the clock's going to run out, but nevertheless, I mean, it's just like that previous play. You want to see him make the right move, and keep the chains moving right here, and that gives you a lot of confidence. And I know he comes on in the second half and they score some points, but right here you can see that Tommy Rees is setting him up to succeed, and it just seems like that he is he's too nervous to be able to deliver on.
Well, and then another thing too, not only does he not hit the wide open guy on the left, but when you look, thank you. When you look at the right side of the field, which is what he's paying attention to, the ball should be thrown right now because the safety in the middle of the field, his momentum is taking him away from the receiver, and the receiver has created enough separation from the other defender near him where a good ball is a completion down the middle of the field, and you get the ball into a Alabama playmaker. He is running that thing, and he's got one man, maybe two men to beat. And you're talking about a chance at a big play. Now, obviously, at that point with him running, you're probably going to be, you're probably time expires if you don't score, or you might have a second left, but you can't stop the clock quick enough because you get a little bit of time with the first down, but not enough to probably get down, set, and spike it. But even then, you just want to see him make good throws and make good decisions.
Yeah.
And that middle of the field throw, I know, like from a high school perspective or from a lower level perspective, that doesn't seem open. That's open. And we have covered plenty of guys who make that throw over and over on a regular basis. So we know that it can be done. We've seen it done at this level plenty of times. And yet he can't make it here. Is it a little bit more difficult? Does it seem a little bit scary to a guy that hasn't been in there very much? Sure. But again, this is just another situation and scenario. We're wanting to see more from a guy that has been proposed as the next one, and you just want to see that throw being made or attempted. And if that one's not going to be there, you'd like to see him get through progression and find the wide open guy in the bottom of the screen. And neither are done here.
Yeah, there's not much else you can take away from that. So get the ball into an athlete's hands and let them make a play. You ain't going to throw the ball, 80 yards the next play in order to score. So I mean, let them have a chance.
All right, so now we're into the third
here
quarter.
again, though. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pre-snap. You see 5. You see 2 DBs off. I mean, this DB over here. So I mean, you're thinking outside right here is open, and he looks right at it, and keeps looking at it, and I mean keeps looking at it until he's on the ground.
Yeah, South Florida does a better job here disguising some pressure. They act like they're sending one guy, and then he backs off out of it. So obviously that's good for even better quarterbacks. But you talk about a new guy coming in, you're really going to confuse him. He already has shown you that he can't really distinguish where your pressures are coming from. So when you throw him a simulated pressure in a disguise, it's going to be pretty hard for this guy to pick it up. But he's so locked in on where he wants to go that he's completely missing a crosser that's wide open. And I know that it's 3rd and 10. So some of these plays we could be knocked on saying, well, the situation, doesn't allow for that easy cross route because there's not enough time or it's there. You still want to see him make some, get a ball into a playmaker's hands for something to possibly happen. Something is better than nothing or a sack. And that's what we have here. So instead of giving your guy a chance to make a play in the open field, you just hold on to the ball and you get taken to the ground. So there's no chance of anything happening if that goes down, which is exactly what happens.
Say here again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the very least. And you have what, 7 there. 6 end up blocking, and automatically you're going to be thinking left side of the field is where the ball needs to go probably, but he don't even look that way. So, I mean, but like looking back, has he looked to the left side of the field at all?
Not yet.
I mean, I haven't saw it like at all. So, I mean, where he needs to go is the left side of the field because, I mean, that boundary is tight. And I know this is meant to be maybe a screen. So it's not really ran that well, I guess you'd say. But, I mean, you see that defender so close, why do you throw that ball? You might as well just get rid of it because, I mean, that's just dangerous. I mean, there's not much to justify that. Going in, you get a 3-man rush. So, I mean, he has time. They're going to let him read a field, decipher it. And he actually does pretty good right here.
Good job.
So it's a 1 read, though. So, I mean, as much as you want to say, he has his helmet turned the same way the entire time. So, I mean, he knew where he was going. So, I mean, it's not like it's anything different. He just has the time to throw it to his 1 read. Because, I mean, look at this white stripe. Look at this white stripe. He's looking at 81 the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah, good throw. I mean, he hit it over the top, right in his tight end stride. So that's a good throw. But you can, I guess we talked before about you want guys to be able to make the throws when they're there. And sometimes that 1 read is fine. Like that is a totally acceptable way to run your offense if that's what you got to do to be successful. And that's what they needed him to be able to. They needed him to be able to complete a pass and get in a position where he didn't have to look at a whole lot, because when he has to look at a bunch of stuff, he gets sacked. So, hey, give him 1 read. If it's not there, take it and run. It was there. He made a good throw. So he did what was asked of him in that play. That's a good play for him.
So here you'll see they're showing 7. I think they send 8. And, that tight end's wide open. So he completes it. But, if it's a better ball and he just throws it as soon as the snap goes, so that's probably a touchdown and a lot better of a throw. So, I mean, at least he got it off, but it's like there's always little things that you can take out of this. It's like, hey, you can see this. It's like he should see this. Said I'm not a quarterback at Alabama, and I'm seeing this. It's like it's not that hard to be like, hey, they're gonna blitz, especially after they've done it 7, 8 times.
So they finally get in the end zone on that drive. That play, you would like to see that ball placed in a spot where that receiver can just catch it in stride, not have to stop all his momentum and bend down and go pick a ball up near the ground. So that way he can try and either lunge in the end zone or walk in, depending on how that attempt to tackle goes. But nonetheless, they do get in the end zone. They do finally score. And he's getting into a little bit more of a rhythm. I wouldn't say a great one, but he has completed a couple passes. He's feeling a little bit more confident. and a new possession for Alabama. He did look left just slightly there, but it was just kind of a look off. And then right back to being tackled on the ground.
So you see you can say he's looking left, but he's looking that receiver in while he's going inside. You see it right there. He's looking 11 inside. So, he's really just watching one guy and hope it's not there, and he doesn't change to look at any other receiver, and he gets sacked. So he doesn't go through his progression, and it costs him, and it really does.
He spends a long time waiting on that one receiver to try and clear, the one that he looks left to begin the play with. He's watching that receiver all the way through to see if he can finally clear space, and he lingers on him too long. So that's not there. Move on to your second. You can see right before he's tackled, he does shift to try and find a second guy, but it's a half second, a full second too late. Take your one read. It isn't there. Don't just wait. If you have a second read, look for your second read and then move into the pocket. But he gets stuck, almost like he's frozen in on that place that he wants to go. And he forgets that he's got a pass rush coming at him, and he forgets that there are other guys to go to. Then once he realizes it, it's too late.
Yeah, he gets that tunnel vision.
And a slow processing. We talked about that before.
So he takes his drop here, and he does the same thing. This kind of a sloppy drop. Not really fast with any momentum at all. And he's looking at one receiver the entire time. I know that one was a little quick, and it's his blind side, so he can't really see that. But at the same time, if he steps up in that pocket like you should after taking your 3-step drop instead of staying there, he gets a little bit more time, and he might complete a pass. This ain't necessarily all his fault right here, but nonetheless, he does get sacked.
I do want to comment on just as far as yes, this is not nearly all his fault. This is a great play by a defensive end and a bad play by the offensive tackle. But something that we've commented on in other quarterback videos that we've done, even younger guys, is extending the play, moving out of the pocket,
sensing pressure,
having pocket presence, and having presence of mind, and feeling your clock going off in your head. Now, again, the excuse to be used, well, he's a young guy, he hasn't built that up yet. Yes, but we've seen young guys still have that. So
we saw Nico do that in high school. We saw George McIntyre do that.
And I think that is a thing that the speed does change, but you still want to see that clock present, and you don't see that clock with him because he focuses in. He's not his speed or his footsteps and speed are wrong. His internal clock for pressure is wrong. His footwork isn't great. His processing is not that great. So there's just a lot of things that you would like to see him to get better at, and that's a lot of things to work on in an offseason. But something in this play in particular. You'll see this almost as a train thing, and a lot of younger guys that are, the superstars coming up, they will horizontally move outside of this pocket down this line to extend the play and look downfield while they're doing that to find the receiver. We've commented this on multiple guys already on this channel that they have a knack for just moving and drifting, but they have a line that they stay on because they've been taught to do that. And while they go out of that on that line and out of the pocket, they keep their eyes downfield looking at receivers, scanning the field. And if there's nobody there, then they'll try and tuck it and they'll make a play. So right here, he gets a little bit frozen in the pocket and he doesn't feel that pressure. His clock doesn't go off and you don't see him move out at all. He just sits there and he takes a hit. Now, is it a good, pass rush? Is it a great job off the end? Sure it is. But you'd still like to see him move, with some, fluid motion outside a little bit, drift and find your guy. And this is just another one of those things that it's something else that you add on to the workload of trying to get better in this offseason if you're going to be the guy. And there's a whole lot of things that are adding up right now that he's going to have to work on.
So that is a lot of time, though. I mean, that's like time enough for you to make a decision, at least. That's a lot of time as well. And at least he gets the ball out and he pitches it out. But it's like you have 81 right here, and he's looking right at him. So he sees him. And you get a lot more yards out of that than, pitching it across the middle here. So I mean, like, the hesitation on that, like, why? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that could be said is it's second team, so he's hoping for more yardage there.
Yeah.
Fight for third down. I mean, he goes across the middle.
That's
either way.
That's exactly right. So I don't think that's a good enough excuse here, because this is kind of the same thing with the other plays. Yes, I know that you could say that the situation dictates his mind wanting to do something different, but at the end of the day, something is better than nothing. Now, technically, this is not nothing. He does get the ball out to number 5 for 2 yards, but if you hit your tight end in stride, who is a good tight end, if you hit him in stride down that sideline, he could make a play. He could, he could truck a guy. He could bounce off a tackle and keep on going. And at least he has a full head of steam going up the field, rather than, just panic tossing
dead on, having to turn your whole body
to a running back that has to stop and can't see what's going on behind him, and he has no momentum going for him. So this is just another one of those things. Well, just make the throw, make the decision, and keep on fighting, rather than waiting till that last second and having disaster happen.
Say not really much pressure to be seen right here. You see a linebacker creeping up slowly, maybe thinking 5 coming. Ends up being 5, but it's a disguised 5. He still has time. I like how he steps up in the pocket this time and runs for it, but say he completes that last pass. Yes. It's not 3rd and 14 here, it's 3rd and 10. It's manageable. And he makes this first down play right here, but 3rd and 14, and he ends up a little short because of the play before. But I mean, he has a good ability to run right there in open space, and that's something you can be complimentary about.
Yeah, I'll tell you too on that one though. What I would like to see him do is, if you roll this, is he takes off. Good job of getting out of there, like you say.
Mm-hmm.
He commits to this slide too early.
Yeah.
I think that if he had that one to go back over again, he probably would have cut that, because I mean he can run. I mean you see that right there. I mean he's got some talent to run. Well, I'd like to see him hit that gap. And I know maybe he blows by this guy right here, because I mean my thought right here is 15 looks like he is overcommitted.
Yep. And
he might run by you. You could make a move on him. I think that he's athletic enough. He could make a good move. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, I think Alabama took away from this game, at least their coaching staff, is like, looking at Ty Simpson, his best attribute is that he can run the football. And it's like, what's Jalen Milrow's best attribute? He can run the football. Yeah. It's just he can run it a lot better than Ty Simpson.
For sure.
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, and that's like I say, that's no disrespect to him, because I think that he's doing everything he can. There's some moments, there are things he does wrong, obviously. And and that's like I say, like what we've said throughout. I mean, that our point is this ain't it. I mean, this just ain't it. And I think that what you said about the comparison with him and Milrow, I guarantee you that comparison took place, and I guarantee you that was the decision that they reached and why they reached it. I mean, that's it. It simply is what it is in this case.
Hey,
yeah, I think he does a good job here.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that you see more confidence in this later into the second half. You see a lot more confidence in what he's doing.
Get an easy man indicator with that motion. So, I mean, he throws it really quick off the man indicator. Because, I mean, obviously, if it's man, when it's been man the rest of the game, he expects a blitz. The same time, he's not really pressured there. So, I mean, he gets it out quick. If they send more pressure, who knows what happens. But he does a good job there in that case. Here, I'm thinking, probably at least 4 is going to go. No motion over there on the defense when he motions his running back. So, I mean, he's going to have time. I mean, you take your right steps in here instead of what he does. I think, you end up with a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But, who am I to say that? At the same time, though, yeah, his check down is there.
I'll tell you something too that's interesting, just that, and sometimes, having the script at the bottom of the screen is aggravating, but if you go back and look at that previous play, that not this current one. And you don't got to do it. I mean, you're go ahead since you're there. Go a little bit further back. I wanted to see the graphic that it shows.
Oh, right.
Now, if I'm correct in saying this, did he not end up 5 of 9 passing?
Yes.
So he's 4 of 8 right now for 66 yards. He ended with 5 of 9 for 73 yards. Okay. 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There's one more. Now, I mean, it could be another sack in here. I don't know. But he's been sacked several times. So those are probably close to the end. I would say maybe one more. But that basically tells you that by 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Alabama they've abandoned the throwing game.
Yep.
You know, it's not really viable for them. So, you know, you got this one, which is obviously a sack. You're going to have at least one more attempt, and the rest of it's going to be runs in South Florida with the football. So it does seem like that they realize that it's not in their best interest to try to push the issue with the passing game with Simpson in there. And I'm sure by this point, you know, they're hoping to tack on that extra score, which they do. And they're going to want to go back to Milrow the next week because he's got more perks than what you've seen from either guy today. And there's that last pass. That's the one that's going to get him up 73 yards.
And you know, I'll take that. I mean, it's 3rd and 11. I know you ain't getting it all, but at least you see improvement. You know, you see that blitz coming. So do you obviously want to go on the right side here, not that side? Get it out in the open field where there's DBs backed off. You only see one like very deep. So I mean, your probably best bet is going to be up the seam with that number 2 receiver on the bottom of your screen. But at least this time he is able to get the ball out. It's just not the right read.
Ooh.
So you'll see pre-snap motion, no real indicators for man, and he just read option, and you know he can run. So I mean, good play call. You know, let's run the ball.
Mm-hmm. Let's get out of here.
And 4th and 2, you know, risky play. What are we gonna do? We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna jump off sides.
Yeah, get them off sides.
So I think 3rd and 1. I think this is just tush push kind of. Yeah, QB sneak. So I mean, he can fall forward for 3 yards, but so I mean, I think the next play is also a QB sneak. So I mean, I think they score on a 1st and goal QB sneak right here. I think that's the game. So they win 17-3, and you know Ty Simpson scores a touchdown. So I mean, take it how you want it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what you say is, I mean, you can interpret this game ever how you want to. He comes in, clearly does a far better job than Buckner. I mean, that goes without saying.
Oh yeah,
because you know there were a few people that I'd talked to, and they're like, oh, you know, we need to go with Buckner. Buckner ain't it. I think Simpson a lot better than what you saw out of Buckner. There's upside there. I think, you know, that Simpson can run the ball. I think Simpson can be trained, you know, to some of the stuff that we've said, like, you know, his feet, just his lack of ease in the pocket. I think a lot of that stuff can be worked on, but to say that he's ready to start serious football, if you're being honest, that's a terrible defense. I mean, statistically speaking, they are a terrible defense, and they look really good with him at the quarterback. But he's holding on to the ball too long. He looks awkward on his feet in the pocket. He was very unsettled until, you know, he got into the rhythm of the game. So, you know, let's give him credit for that. But it became clear that if you look at that last 10 minutes of that game, Alabama knew what they had. They going forward, it's going to be Milrow. You just know that somebody that on that sideline, they're like, yeah, you know, we've seen it. You know, we're coming out of here with a win, and we've seen what we need to see. Let's get back to work, and they did. And maybe this, you know, was part of the process that led Milrow to have a much better rest of the year than what that Texas game looked like. I don't know. But I think that the thing that you have to say, and I know that, like, you know, kind of I guess it's not a pun, but just an awkward statement with Alabama, the elephant in the room, it's Austin Mack. and I don't know how you say that any other way. There's a there, and I'm not saying that it's going to be immediate, but I think there's a there because there was no argument put forth right there in that South Florida game that says this is the person that we really need to keep our eye on. It's like, to me, the argument was Buckner is not it. We need to further develop Ty Simpson, and we need to stick with Milroe. And I think that that's where Alabama is at still to this day. I have no doubt that Simpson's moved forward. He's advanced, no doubt, I'm sure, over the year. But Milroe's still your guy. And and I think Milroe's going to stay your guy. And after that, I think it's probably going to be Austin Mack. And I understand the argument that some make, because I mean, it is a valid argument that, they say, well, DeBoer was bringing in Will Rogers. He transferred to Washington. He did. I understand that. Will Rogers is also a senior. He's gone next year. And so I think that, the idea was, and like what we said, that makes the Milroe situation interesting with Mack, is that Milroe has 2 years left. And so I don't know. I mean, I think that that's such an interesting spot right there. And I think that that's why that there could be controversy ultimately, because Mack is DeBoer's guy. And, you can talk Will Rogers, and I understand that. And I say, yes, that's a valid argument. But Will Rogers was going to be gone, and you had 3 years Mack. And I think that is what DeBoer wanted, because he's clearly high on this guy. And if you hear anybody else who talk about him, they are high on him. Like everything that you hear said about Mack, people really like him. He's young, very young, in fact. And so there's a lot of upside to him. And I think that just judging from this game, because there is not a big body of work that Ty Simpson has. And to pretend like there is insanity, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think that you can say, oh, well, he's just chomping at the bit. If that's chomping at the bit, you better get in the wishbone, because he's not going to be the one to get you there. And you're going to need to compete at that upper echelon where Alabama expects itself to be. You're going to have to be able to throw the football in today's game, because, even you take a team like Michigan, who flat out ran the football and won a lot more than most teams, in the current, state of college football they still had a quarterback who could put the ball down the field. Now, I don't think that, that you're never going to confuse him with a McCarthy with, with a Penix type guy, or you're not even going to confuse him, in my opinion, with somebody like Carson Beck at Georgia. I mean, if we're just being honest. But McCarthy was good. He's a good play action guy. He is a good rollout guy. He has a skill set that allows you to get the ball down the field. And I don't think that that's what Alabama wants on the field whenever they go to play SEC team. I mean, honestly, that day right there, I bet if they had it to do over again, they probably wish they had Milroe in there against South Florida. I mean, that's just my take on it. And then people might disagree with it, but I'm just telling you what I saw. It's kind of like what Rev said. I mean, we're just looking at what's there, and what is there is, I don't think you would want to go out that next Saturday and play with that under center. Yeah, so and that's no disrespect to him, and I hope him the best, and I hope he makes a fine quarterback for him. But I'm telling you right now, Ty Simpson right now, what we saw, unless he has made strides, I mean, true, huge strides, he is not going to beat out Jalen Milroe. I mean, they might have between those two, they might have a quote unquote competition, but we know who's going to win that competition. It's going to be Jalen Milroe.
Say, I saw Ty Simpson play when he was at Westview, and one thing I always say about Tennessee high school football is 1A is about as good as 2A, and 2A ain't that special here in Tennessee. So I mean, it's just one thing about him, and I mean, he looked impressive there, just not like as elite as you'd see like Austin Mack looked against better competition. And one thing you just don't see from Ty Simpson is awareness, whether it be pocket awareness, situational awareness, field awareness, awareness to throw a ball and make a read across the middle of the field or to an open receiver, their awareness to throw a check down on a blitz or to throw where the blitz come from. So, I mean, there's just a lot of I think he has the arm skill. It's just the mental skill. That's the only thing with him. I said, sure up the footwork, sure, but he obviously has an arm, and a God gifted arm at that. So I mean, he can eventually be worked into it. It's just, will the mental side ever click for him? And I think that's a lot of being quarterback is how your processor is. That's what makes great elite quarterbacks. Tom Brady never really had a great arm, but he had that one of the highest processing minds that we've ever saw, along with people like Peyton Manning. So I mean, you just got to think about that a lot. So I mean, I agree with the Lock on a lot of what he said about the wishbone. Said I think he'd be fine running the ball every time, splitting carries to the back. I think Jalen Milroe would be too, but I don't think that's what DeBoer wants to do. So I mean, I think it's not an if, but it's a when Austin Mack starts, and I look forward to it if I'm being honest.
And I tell you, I mean, the thing that I'll say too is I think that if this were Nick Saban, say even 7-8 years ago, like I mean the McElroy years, the McCarron years, people like that, I think I could see Ty Simpson like as a junior standing in there and becoming that quarterback who could manage the game. They could get him down crisp what he needed to do, and a lot of what his game would be is get the ball to a couple of really good running backs, run play action passes. I think that he could do that, but that's not going to happen in the DeBoer offense because DeBoer I don't think is going to change what he does, because he has a way that he plays football. And it works. I mean, it's proven to work, and so I think that he's going to go with what he's comfortable with. And these boys are going to have to I guess adapt or be gone. And I think that you stick with Milroe because he's your best option. But I also think that that Mac, he's in that room, and and he's in that room, and and Sayan's gone, and I think that there's a reason why Sayan's gone. I can't help but think that you got a real opportunity with Mac. That's just my take. Rev, you got any last words?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I'll say, and it kind of bouncing off what you said there, with talking about what it would have been like if Saban had been there. But Saban isn't there. And I think that is something that a lot of Alabama fans they still talk as if Saban is the head coach, and he's not. I know that he's in the building, and I know DeBoer said that he's calling on him every day and talking to him, but DeBoer's the coach. And acting as if nothing is going to change is lunacy. Yes, I know it's Alabama. Yes, I know there always should be a very high standard of football at Alabama, but the type of football is going to change when you have a dramatic shift at the head position, which we have with Saban to DeBoer. Now, I know that Saban's offensive structure and strategy has changed over the years. You can thank Lane Kiffin for that. Lane Kiffin pushed him to change that his offensive mind and what he viewed when it comes to offensive football in order to compete with the new style of football and the new SEC that he was around in. But even with the new stuff that Saban embraced, there was still a lot of similarities that you would see, and there's still, as a team and as a structure, Alabama really didn't shift too dramatically. But we're no longer in the Saban era, and that is something that I think that people are having a hard time grasping, at least the way that I read and hear them talk. It's as if they are ignoring that with a new head coach comes new things that he likes. He has new strategies. He has new views of football. He has new views of what he likes at quarterback and what he likes on defense. All of the things can change with the head coach. And when it comes to quarterback play and the way the offense runs, as we've broken down before, DeBoer clearly has a system that he likes. He's got a system quarterback that he likes, and he's got his own stuff that he wants to run. So acting like nothing is going to change and they're just going to go with the same old is just kind of crazy to me. And I get that it's hard to, reconcile that when you had the same guy as your coach for 17 years. I'm an FSU fan, and I wasn't alive for a lot of it, but I had the same coach for 34 years in my team. And change is inevitable, though, when you make the switch. So that's like, when you're looking at Alabama now, this is a new Alabama. This is no longer Saban's Crimson Tide. It is now DeBoer's time to do what he wants and what he thinks is most effective for his team. I think that we all are in agreement that Milroe is going to be the guy next year on the field for Alabama. I think, he has all the game reps. He clearly can win, and he can do a lot of things that you want him to do. Right. But the fact that Mac is in the building and DeBoer is the head coach who brought him over has to mean something. Does it mean that Mac is starting next year? No, but there is a conversation of why he is there and what this looks like going forward. whether it be competition going into this year to push Milroe to be even better, or does Matt try and eclipse him, next year? He's obviously got more. He's got a lot more time than Milroe does, but they still have one more year to play together. And then there's a question of, well, now who do you go with? You got a guy who's been in DeBoer's system for 2 years, and you got a guy who fits the prototypical way that DeBoer likes to run his offense versus a guy who doesn't. So there's just a lot of questions and a big conversation, which is why we keep bringing it up. This is a narrative that we're not creating. It's already sitting there for us to analyze, which is what we're doing here. And as like said, there is a there for us to discuss, which is why we're discussing it. So this is not Alabama hate. This is not to stir up drama. I know someone pointed out that this can hurt the feelings of players and whatever else. Hey, you're at Alabama. How many times have you heard rat poison? If what I say is going to affect the way you play, then you don't need to be playing. So this is not a drama piece. This is not a try and hurt you piece. This is just an analyze what's in front of us and talk about it. That's all that we're doing here.
Yeah, to get away from all this fabrication from you two, I think I think what you'll see a lot of next year is, so in my opinion, Austin Mack. I don't think we'll see that much Jalen Milroe. So we'll know more in spring, and we'll obviously cover that. But with that being said, stay locked in, everyone.